Most of us are probably familiar with the term social media marketing agency, or SMMA, because everybody likes their four-letter acronyms. This is a business model started back in the early to mid 2010s, where essentially a bunch of business owners had no idea how to incorporate social media into their marketing mix. And so young whippersnappers like myself put on our ball caps and our boots. We went out door knocking and cold calling, and we sold these people on the idea that we could do it for them because we were digital natives, because we grew up with this technology, and because there was a massive opportunity right around the corner. So as I'm sure you guys could imagine, a lot of people made a ton of money. And everything that I've said so far, hopefully you guys could see, is currently paralleling what is going on right now with AI too. And so the thesis of my video, basically what I'm going to be talking about, is that AI agencies are the new social media marketing agencies. I'm going to contrast them. I'm going to talk about why I think AI agencies are actually much better than social media marketing agencies. But I'm also going to do a couple other things. On top of me talking about the benefits and how much money you could make with this industry, I'm also going to talk about some of the cons that I'm seeing, okay? Some of the negatives. And hopefully I'm going to dispel some of the frequently asked questions that I see when people enter my communities and my products and so on and so forth, looking to make bank in this gold rush. So the very first thing I want to talk about before I get into anything else is that this is a very simple business model. I know you're thinking, no, it's not. It's artificial intelligence. There's no way it can be simple, but it is. You're only about a week or two away from realistically being able to make a lot of money in this niche. You don't need a lot of concrete crystallized knowledge. But just because something is simple does not mean that it's easy. In fact, I would go as far as to say as the simplicity of a business model, the simpler that it is, the harder it tends to be as a result. And so if you come into a business model like this, or even SMMA or website design or whatever agency model that you are looking at, and you think that it's going to be easy because it's simple, you're dead wrong. It's probably going to be a lot more work than you're comfortable with. So right off the bat, just dispel yourself with the notion that simple is easy and that this business model qualifies, because it unfortunately does not. First thing I want to do is I just want to compare social media marketing agencies to the AI automation agencies. We'll throw around some acronyms in a moment, but essentially, hopefully it's clear that on the left-hand side, this is the SMMAs today. It's a very competitive niche. There are a lot of people and not a lot of money going around. And on the right-hand side here, we have AIAAs or AAAs or I don't know, AIAs or ABCDs. No, I'm just kidding. There are a lot of acronyms here. Basically, these all come out as agency model that sells AI and automation services to mostly SMB, small to mid-sized businesses, okay? Now, if you contrast that with the left, which is all crowded and there's like no room for anything, on the right, you just have these giant bags of money sharpied with the term AI on them floating around in the water. And there are very few people here. This is basically your blue ocean, okay? This over here, this SMMA model, is sort of your red ocean. So if you're going to start a business today and you were looking for the one with the lowest barrier to entry, SMMAs and AA automation agencies, they have very similar levels of barrier to entry, to be honest with you. But the ones on the left, the SMMAs, are just way, way more competitive right now. And, there are a couple other things to get into. So number one, the same explosion patterns that we're seeing from SMMA back in 2014, 2015, they're happening right now with AI, although I think the slope of the curve is a lot higher. So if this is the SMMA, this is sort of like the AIAA. Okay. The second is that the customer lifetime value of people that are purchasing AI projects tend to just be a lot bigger than the customer lifetime value that you could make out of, a social media marketing agency package. The comparative value is a lot lower for social media marketing because people sort of understand how Facebook works now. It's been around for long enough. Social media platforms have been around for long enough. People get the whole SMMA model. But AI as a business model, there's still a lot of perceived hype. And I mean this in the best way possible, you can take advantage of that perceived hype in order to sell projects for a lot more. People are just very excited about this stuff. And I understand why. It's a transformative technology, right? So you can actually just sell upfront, like a one-time project or recurring, for substantially more. I've seen people sell projects over $200,000. I haven't sold a project that large on a one-off for AI automation, but I've seen that done before. And on average, you could sell things for between $15,000 to $50,000 if we're talking CLV, so customer lifetime value for a client. Another main point I'm going to make is that SMMA is huge because every business needs a Facebook page, right? But if you think about like the businesses that could actually capitalize on those Facebook pages, it's actually very few. Like in reality, a lot of people thought that they could make Facebook pages and make a ton of money with them or something, using the social media marketing agency to help set it up and stuff. But I mean, how many HVAC companies actually make a ton of money through Facebook? Very few. How many, flower shops down the street actually make a lot of money with Facebook? Very few. The point I'm making is that this was a specific tool for marketing, but AI is a lot more foundational. It's not just a specific lead generation channel. What AI is it is the foundational underpinning of all future businesses from this point onwards. AI handles your communication. AI handles your decision. AI handles your logic. AI handles the legal aspect of your business. It's going to handle all the customer support. It is essentially going to be your business. And so instead of there being one or two opportunities to use, let's say, Facebook or something in a business 10 years ago, there's 10 or 15 opportunities for every business to sell AI and automation services to. Okay. And so because of that, the total market size, if you think about it, is at least 10 to 15 times bigger right there, is a lot bigger and it's a lot less saturated as a result. So if you were to choose right now, you could choose SMMA on the left-hand side here. It'd be really high competition. You'd have relatively low customer lifetime value or project size. It'd kind of be like a red ocean. Whereas if you were to go with the AI agency model, I think I'm meant to write high opportunity here. You have a large opportunity with very little competition, comparatively as of the time of this recording anyway. Average project size is substantially higher because people get to ride that hype wave, and really it's a blue ocean as of the time of this recording. So hopefully, ding ding, winner winner chicken dinner. Hopefully you guys are seeing that the AIAA or AIA or the AAA definitely is way better than the SMMA right now. And same thing with, a bunch of the other services you could do, like web design. I'll talk about web design in a second, but this is sort of like the pre-SMMA. So definitely don't choose web design if you guys want to get into something, make your first few bucks doing services. Okay, so why now? Well, as we see, there's a lot of stuff going on today that parallels stuff that happened in 1995. Okay. So, and this is what this really is this is like a repetition of the same trend, the same cycle. So back in let's start even earlier. Back in 1995, okay, websites became a thing. And so companies realized they could use websites as a marketing mechanism. And so there exploded this whole new business model called the website designer or the website design agency or the website developer or the website development agency. And so basically this whole new ecosystem sprang up overnight. Okay. That happened in 1995, basically up until maybe early 2010s. That was the majority period. Then in 2014 to 2016, SMMA exploded when businesses started seeing these social media platforms and realizing, hey, I have no idea how the hell this works, but I feel like I could make some marketing money with it. Well, that's the exact same pattern that's happening now. There's a lot of confusion about AI because the perceived difficulty of getting to learn it is quite high, which I'll talk about. But this is what is currently creating a massive service opportunity like there was with websites. They're also, I could throw as many stats at you as I want because everybody and their mom is talking about AI right now. But there's a lot of money that is coming into artificial intelligence over the course of the next few years. People are creating whole financial products that are just subsets of AI companies. They are creating whole technology businesses that are solely about optimizing a very tiny aspect of part of an AI model that, hundreds or thousands of companies are using. Whole new hardware companies are cropping up. There's a very large financial opportunity just to have the word AI in your business nowadays. Another thing is most of the businesses you would realistically work with in any service model just don't know how to implement AI. They think it's a lot harder than it actually is. Okay. And so anytime you have a new technology, you have a group of people that don't know fully how to use it. I will say that the proportion of people that don't know how to use it is going to go down over time, which is why starting early is probably the best way of going about it. And then, the last bit here is just history repeats. Just like websites in 1995, where basically business discovers that there's some money to be made with this. Business hires like a website agency, and then website agency makes a little bit of money with this and then helps the business make money. Just like there's that symbiotic relationship between the business and the website agency. The exact same thing happened with the business and the SMMA with social media pages. And the exact same thing is happening right now with AI automation agencies, okay? With, reducing the cost of labor, automatically responding to your emails, following up with clients autonomously, generating leads using one of various automated mechanisms, and so on and so forth. So, you kind of have a choice here. Back in 95, people that got on the website trend obviously made web agencies, and the majority of these people made money. Maybe not the majority of these people, but the people that approached it intelligently made money. In 2014, social media happened. People that approached it intelligently made money. Well, right now, AI technology is booming. And so essentially the people that are going to approach this intelligently are going to make money. And I think just due to the foundational nature of AI, I don't know how many more of these big cycles there are realistically going to be. And I don't mean to say this as like an alarmist or something, but AI is not really like the Industrial Revolution. When Sam Altman said it best the other day, it's more like the Renaissance. There is like a fundamentally different future ahead of us, and how that is going to look economically is still very much in the air. If AI can do the vast majority of things that most service workers can do at a certain point, then where are we going to put the service workers and what are they going to do, right? If they can replicate human thought processes to a certain degree, what the heck is our economy going to look like in a future where human thought processes are not valued? Our whole economy is called a knowledge economy for a reason, right? Anywho, that's more philosophy for you. A little bit of a reality check right now. AI agencies, compared to most other service businesses, have way less competition per potential client, okay? SMMA and other business models just have significantly lower project values than AI. There's a lot of enterprise companies currently getting into AI, Okay. This stat says enterprise adoption at 63% and climbing. But I think that this is actually a good opportunity for small to mid-sized businesses, which is why I frame this as an opportunity for small to mid-sized businesses, because, the big like AI players are pitching their services to these enterprise companies and the enterprise companies are adopting it. But that just leaves like the mom and pop shops essentially, or like the solopreneur businesses, or like the small to mid-sized companies that have been operating with the same principles and procedures over the course of the last 5 years out in the dust. And to be honest, these are the businesses that most human beings interact with. These are the businesses that most people interface with as part of their economy. If we can help optimize this, I think there's both more of a payoff for us financially, because there's just going to be a lot of missed opportunities that these big AI companies will not offer their services or their infrastructure to. But I also think it's just better for the world, right? Most people interact with small to mid-sized businesses on a daily basis. I think we can help them a lot. So a lot of businesses are planning AI investment. Only 21% of these 97% of businesses have. So, I mean, just do the math there. That's what, 76% of all businesses on planet Earth with money in their hands that are considering spending it on various things. Some automation, chat bots. I don't personally recommend selling them right now, but I thought I'd mention them. Lead generation AI, some sort of voice assistant or something. People have money in their hands and they are willing to spend it. The reason why they're willing to spend it is, I just want you to think, okay, there's this person over here. Her name is Sally. And Sally is a lovely business owner that's operated, I don't know, maybe like a recruitment business for the last like 15 years. I can't really draw this. Okay, yeah, I can. Ooh, that's a weird eye, Sally. Hope you're doing okay. All right. And Sally, she hasn't really had the time to learn AI or really get deep into it, because she's just been really busy operating a business. She's been busy feeding people's families, to be honest. She's been busy dealing with her competition. But all of a sudden, one day, Sally notices that things are getting harder for her. She's noticing that the competing recruitment businesses around her are growing faster and they're doing more, and that her margins are going down, and that it's more difficult to get customers. Okay. And in the news every day, she hears about this term, AI, AI. She hears ChatGPT. Companies are now implementing voice bots. Companies are implementing X, Y, and Z. What's happening right now is Sally is getting pushed out of the market. And when Sally gets to that point where she's feeling pushed out of the market, Sally is obviously very afraid. And fear is the primary motivator by which people spend their money. Okay. So a lot of people are in Sally's shoes right now. And I don't mean this in a negative or sort of like Machiavellian sense, but when people are confused and they're afraid and maybe they're a little excited, that is the best time to sell them. And that's really where you can make the most money doing so. All right. So yeah, a lot of digital agencies right now, not a lot of AI companies. I think comparatively, if you were to try and go into the former niche versus the latter, you'd just be shooting yourself in the foot. I think if your business model and, our current day and beyond does not include the term AI, you're just leaving a lot of money on the table. So, if you were to try something in the digital agency space, there's like a 60-to-1 ratio essentially of US businesses and then digital agencies right now. Okay. You're probably going to be operating in a much more red ocean to begin with. Whereas if you're doing, let's say an AI agency sort of business model, there's significantly fewer AI companies out there. It's also significantly younger business models. So they're probably not as mature or sophisticated. The ratio is a lot better for you. And so you can also charge significantly more a project size, just going off of simple supply demand economics. So if we just do some very simple money math here, okay, very, very simple money math. This is the AIAA Chad. These are the, SMMA and website Pepe frogs. I'm going to get canceled for that. It's a lot easier for this fella over here to make the money, right? If we just do a little bit of math, if you wanted to make $30,000 a month, you might need 10 clients at 3K if you ran an SMMA. If you wanted to do equivalent with an AI agency and you sold mid to high ticket projects, you sold some sort of all-in-one fractional AI retainer, essentially what I do, you might only need 2 or 3 clients at, $5, $10, or $15,000 to hit that same goal. Okay, you're also seeing significantly higher profit margins. And because AI is just leveraged by nature, you also need many, many fewer hires. Okay, many fewer hires. I mean, when I hit $72,000 a month with my AI agency, I did it with myself plus a VA. Try and find a traditional agency or SMMA service where you could make, it depends on how you want to pitch this. I did the vast majority of the business, but even if you divide that by 2, that's like a $36,000 revenue per staff member, RPE or RPS or whatever, right? Like find an SMA model where you're going to do that. Okay. The really cool thing about AI solutions is they're also very reusable across clients. And so, if you sell something to client A, realistically, you just copy and paste that with client B. You can't really do that with social media marketing. Social media marketing is pretty unique for every client, if I'm honest. But the way that I see AI solutions is these are basically, like, honestly, They're kind of like Lego blocks, okay? It's supposed to be a Lego block, and I'm just looking like a pimply cube. Anyway, they're basically like Lego blocks, okay? And so, you could take this Lego block, you could just get the exact same Lego block, and you could put it on another business. Because usually this is some internal mechanism of the business. It's not always super customer facing. And even if it is customer facing, you can still reuse the vast majority of it. And yeah, you can build like good recurring revenue streams with AI automation. I've done it. I'm currently doing it. A lot of people in my communities and groups are doing it. A lot of people that are watching my YouTube video right now are doing it. If you are, I'd love it if you just dropped in the comments how much money you are currently making with AI automation, just to show other people that this sort of stuff is possible. Okay, cool. So, again, two different paths here. If you do the SMMA path versus the AI agency path, I think you'll very quickly and easily see which one is better, right? AI agency path is obviously significantly higher project size. You're working on more exciting technologies. There's lower overhead because you're probably using AI in your business. You're learning about how to use AI in your own business while helping other people do other businesses. So you're arming yourself for the future. You're going to end up with a lot more margins, and you're just going to be a lot happier. The social media marketing agency, the math is a little bit different. So why do I think that, most of the people that are watching this video are probably better positioned to do cool things with it? Well, the first thing is, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that I'm big on no-code tools. So I came up basically doing make.com tutorials showing people how to use these no-code tools to go out there and actually build things that make people money. So nowadays we have these no-code tools basically, okay? And no-code tools have eliminated the vast majority of development costs. The vast majority of development costs. You used to need a whole team of developers. And now it's basically like, hey, team, or you just use a software product that's like 15 or 20 bucks a month. So obviously, most people nowadays are just going to opt to use the software product that costs 15, 20 bucks a month. The thing is, the rest of the market hasn't really caught up yet. For most people, most small to mid-sized businesses, they're still thinking, oh crap, I'm going to need to hire a team. They still assign a very high level of difficulty to this stuff. And that's where you can offer a ton of perceived value coming in using a simpler implementation method like make.com N8N, one of these no code or simple AI builder tools, delivering the same quality product, but doing it faster, doing it better, and then also doing it in a more maintainable way for them. So really you're benefiting the client at the end of the day. Okay. Also, very basic AI knowledge can put you ahead of 90% of the market. Let me draw you a quick little example. Okay. This is you and your life, and this is today. And this is when you chose to learn AI. Well, this is 2 weeks from now. Now, between today and 2 weeks from now, you could realistically gain all of the knowledge that you need to start a $5,000 to $10,000 a month business. Because the perceived difficulty, the perceived hurdle to getting up and running, okay? This is like the perception of difficulty is actually very different from the actual difficulty. Most people think that AI is what is in black here. They think, oh my God, I have to become a developer. I have to learn everything that there is to know about artificial intelligence. I have to become a professional server host. I have to become an engineer. I have to do all this stuff, okay? The reality is you do not have to do that. Most of these tools work really easily and conveniently out of the box for you. And the AI automation industry is not actually like an academic thing. We're not actually like engineers as in we are like building like engineering solutions. We're not actually creating the models. We're not actually really creating the technology. All we're doing, if I am completely and bluntly honest with you, is we're using tools that have been developed by engineers. We're using tools and mathematical constructs that have been developed by theoreticians like physicists and these extraordinarily intelligent people. And then we are turning them into simple and very malleable little Lego blocks that we can plug and play into businesses. So we're not actually doing, to be honest, like the very extraordinarily intellectually difficult part. And so most other people think that we are, which is why the perception of difficulty, the perception of the hurdle you need to overcome is very high, when in reality, it's quite low indeed. If this is like the ground truth, this is you. I mean, what is the amount of time and effort that it takes to get here versus, all the way up here? It's a lot easier than most people think, I guess is the point that I'm making. All right. There's also a lot of free resources out there, like the ones on my channel, to show you how to do so, including obviously free resources and paid resources like Maker School, which is a 90-day path to competency. It takes you 2 or 3 hours daily. And at the end of it, you're guaranteed your very first AI and automation agency client. And nowadays, compared to, the pioneers in the SMMA industry, you actually have like tons of resources, tons of knowledge, tons of accessibility. If the barrier to entry with social media marketing was, I don't know, like this, then, this is the ground and that's the barrier to entry with social media marketing. The barrier to entry with this stuff, because of all the free resources, tools and templates and blueprints with videos like mine, it's so much lower. It's not even funny. I'm sure that there are probably 13 or 14-year-olds out there right now that are currently making money with this business model. And I'm not even saying that as an exaggeration. I've had a few of them send me emails. So there's no experience required. There's no coding knowledge needed because it's covered by these no-code tools. There's tons of free resources. Okay. You spend, I don't know, 30, 60, 90 days learning. You gain basic AI skills. You get maybe your first free client or first paid client. Then you hit your first actual big project. And I mean, before you know it, within the space of a couple of months, you can basically completely transform your current financial situation. And the benefit of this is, whereas all other businesses typically have relatively high capital investment costs, something like this might have a capital investment cost of like $500 when all is said and done. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not free to start any business model, right? If you join my programs, you have to pay even more money to join the program, but usually you could save a lot of money because we give you discounts and blueprints and templates, and also just point you in the right direction. We do Q&A and stuff. But even if you're starting from scratch, like, you're going to have to spend a little bit of money with any business model. If you're going to an SMMA, you typically need, like, social media scheduling services, which cost you a little bit of money per month. You need like access and authentication services, which cost you a little bit of money per month. You need, like business infrastructure, like project management, whatever. This is the exact same thing. Just keep in mind that these are all digital tools. And so you're not actually having to like go procure a heavy piece of machinery or something. Realistically, your costs usually end up being just a few $100 a month. So you might spend this over the course of a few months. And then, at the end of it, you might have $10,000. You might make a 20x ROI, and you might eventually scale up this business enough to retire your mom and live in fantasy land for the rest of your life. Now, the reason why I say all that stuff at the end is because it is simple, but again, that doesn't mean that it's easy. You can look at these 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 step processes, like I've laid them out here. And you could say, wow, that's it. That's all I need to do. But I mean, how many people are actually willing to spend, hell, even a third of that, 30 days doing something consistently every day in a row? Very few people, right? And so the barrier to entry is never the knowledge with this stuff. Okay. Knowledge is no longer the barrier to entry, honestly. Artificial intelligence is rendering that obsolete. The barrier to entry really is just your consistency. It's your focus. It's your ability to like do a thing repeatedly and consistently for like a month at a time. And if you head over to Makerschool or MakeMoneyWithMake.com, my communities, you will see that basically everybody that does some form of daily accountability, where they just do the thing that is laid out in front of them, and they do it every single day for 30, 60, or 90 days, inevitably reaches some level of massive success. And it's incredible to see. So they would have done this with any business model. They just happened to pick AI and automation because, I convinced them, or, they happen to like my content, or a friend of theirs told them to get into it. They would have been successful with any business model, but because they chose AI and automation, they were significantly more successful. They made multiples on their time. Okay, anyway, first mover advantage. So, first movers basically become default industry experts. Like, think of the here in my garage guy. Think about Mr. Lopez, right? He was one of the first movers in SMMA. I'm sure he's made many dozens of millions of dollars at this point. If he wouldn't, he probably wouldn't live in that super swanky mansion. The benefit in being a first mover as well is that you get to explore a bunch of niches when they're relatively untapped. And so you actually get to set the market rates for things, which is pretty great. And you get to take advantage of that first market rate before, there ends up being a dog pile of competition. And then it ends up ultimately being like a race down to the bottom. And then, yeah, it's one of the main benefits, and I think one of the reasons why so many people are getting in right now. We are currently establishing the market rates for this stuff. We are establishing the value. We are currently establishing how to go about doing this thing. If you guys want to be part of that first mover advantage, my recommendation for you is to get going pretty quick. Anyway, last thing I'll mention here before I sign off is just a blueprint and like a practical how-to, because when I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos and I was considering business models back in the day, one thing that I really hated was they would stoke me up about this awesome opportunity, or they would show me this cool way of doing business, or open my eyes to the possibility or opportunity somewhere. And then they just would be like, okay, well, that's it. Join my program or pay me money or whatnot. Obviously, I am offering a service at this point where I help people do all the stuff that I'm talking about faster, right? That's my value. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to at least democratize the knowledge so that anybody can get started. And then once you have a couple of quick wins, maybe then, if you're that sort of person that is okay taking more time, you can come to me and so on. So here's a quick little blueprint that I'm going to give you, a quick little 90-day plan. And I've talked permutations of this 90-day plan before, but in this video, I'm just going to give you the entire thing laid out. And then if you guys want, you can check my last video. You can check some of the videos that I published in the last couple of weeks with like a step-by-step granular guide on how to get all this stuff up and running. So days 1 to 14, this is like your day-to-day guide, okay? Set up your business infrastructure. Pick 2 or 3 niches. Pick a business name. Create a website using Webflow or Card or Lovable or Bolt. Set up affiliates for all of your platforms. Between days 15 to 30, launch your lead generation. So start sending cold emails. I recommend 90 a day. Start sending Upwork applications. I recommend 10 a day. Join a bunch of relevant communities, AI automation communities as well, but communities in the niches that you picked earlier. Start making posts and becoming well-known in these communities. Days 31 to 90, okay? Rinse and repeat and do that every single day for the next like 2.5 months. Just do 90 cold emails, do 10 Upwork applications, and do 2 or 3 community posts. By the end of it, you will have assembled a massive list of wins. Once you're done with that, oh, I think I said 50 over here, my bad. Anyway, I recommend 90. 90 emails, 10 applications, 3 community posts. Once you're done with that, you will have inevitably gotten a ton of interest with your services. If you guys want to see exactly how to do this, I'm publishing a video in the next couple of days where I will legitimately spin up a whole AI automation business from scratch in front of you and get a meeting legitimately from scratch. I'll probably do it in like 2 or 3 hours knowing my track record. After you've done this and you've gotten some interest and maybe you've gotten your very first deal, then just increase your prices, okay? Increase them 5, 10, 20, or 30%, depending on how confident you are. And just cycle that over and over and over again until you reach some level of money that you're happy and comfortable with. I gotta say, this is the simple but not easy part right here, okay? Because this all sounds incredibly simple. But just because something is simple, again, doesn't mean that you can actually do it without a modicum of will. And I think that's what a lot of people here are probably struggling with. So my recommendation for you is make it easy on yourself, okay? Get some sort of accountability partner if you guys really want to start this thing. Yes, you call up a friend of yours that might have talked about starting business, or somebody that maybe is a little bit further ahead than you are in their career, and say, hey, I really want to do this new business model that Nick was telling me about. Would you mind if at the end of every day, I just texted you a screenshot of all of my progress? And if one day I don't send you a screenshot of my progress, just call me a jackass, okay? I mean, make a public declaration on your Facebook or social media. I mean, tell your mom or your dad you're trying to do this cool thing and you just want them to check in on you every once in a while. These little accountability mechanisms go a really long way, and they help change it from something that might be simple but very, very hard to something that, while still hard, is manageable and consistent as long as you look at it as a daily thing. Okay, so let's just make this 90, 10 Upwork apps, 3 community posts, get to it. And, here's a more granular roadmap of what that actually looks like. There's some platforms that I recommend over here: Instantly, Upwork, and School. Hopefully, I'm not going to beat a dead horse at this point because I've talked about how to do all this stuff 1,000,001 times. Hopefully by this point you understand how AI automation agencies are like social media marketing agencies. Just like SMMA eventually got pretty saturated, just like SMMA got extraordinarily competitive, I do think that there is, of course, a limited life cycle of any business model. So, just to be pragmatic, focus more on the strategy that underlies how this business model works than the specific tactics that I'm showing you or that you might be seeing, because tactics tend to expire with market competition, with saturation, and with just the dynamics of the economy changing. But if you understand the strategy, then it doesn't matter what tactic you may or may not be using today. You'll always have the skills to develop a new tactic later on that fits with the current market conditions. Hopefully everything I'm telling you so far makes sense. This is why I firmly believe that AI agencies are the modern social media marketing agencies. If you guys want to see the AI agency business model play out in real time for you, check out Maker School. It's my 0 to 1 accountability roadmap where I legitimately give you a giant list of tasks to do every single day. Day 1, do this. Day 2, do that. Day 3, do that. You go down this linearly top to bottom, and by the end of this 90-day period, you will have your first AI automation customer guaranteed or your money back. It is by far the simplest and straightest line roadmap to actually acquiring your first AI automation customer, which is why I think so many people have just joined like a frenzy over the last little bit. We just crossed 2,000 members, so I'd really appreciate it if you joined, if you are on the fence and considering doing this sometime in the near future. Thank you very much for watching this, and I very much appreciate your love on all of the recent videos. You guys have made it this far. You are real ones. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. That gets me to the top of the YouTube algo, and I'll catch y'all later. Thanks so much.